Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome along to episode 88 of the SFC interviews here with former striker Paul Hakim. So, how's things, Paul?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, mate.
Good to hear. And of course, it's been quite a while since you've been at the football club. So, how you've been keeping busy and what you've been up to with yourself since obviously those days.
I left. Oh, it must have been about 14 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And then dropped back down to the Conference South. Went back to St Albans to go part time, and I got a job. And I've been there ever since, basically. Working at a company called Smart Odds. And yeah, my boss, he owns Brentford Football Club, so I'm kind of in that world. It's been good.
Okay, and of course Brentford are riding a wave at the moment on the back of promotion as well. So they're obviously loving life at the moment as well.
Yeah, he's very happy at the moment. He invested in his boyhood club, I think about 10 years ago now, and they've been very unlucky not to get promoted.
Yeah.
And they're finally there and deserve to be there. So it's been a good year.
And of course, let's go back to 2007, and it feels weird even saying that. It does seem like a long time ago. And of course, you signed for the club on the last day of the January transfer window as well, after what was actually a pretty long and sort of drawn out process. And did you actually think that the deal was going to get over the line and kind of get it done?
It's actually a funny story behind that, because the two clubs were actually, there's a lot of stories about me leading up to that. To the transfer itself, I was involved in a bit of a saga with Weymouth, which was not fun. And then, last day of the window, I think St Albans and Stevenage were haggling over a couple of £1,000 over my transfer fee. So me and my dad got together and raised some funds so that I could just get the deal done and over the line. And I was over the moon because the previous year I got promoted with St Albans, and the playoff final was actually at Stevenage, and I was like, well, I'll be over the moon to be playing at this club next year, and it happened. So yeah, I was delighted.
And of course, that's that's quite an interesting story there as well. Obviously, you and your dad were both involved in raising the funds to actually help get it over the line, and obviously that's something that isn't public knowledge, or wasn't public knowledge obviously until now.
Yeah. So you got to remember, I got the move at like 24. I was from about 21. I was my goal was just to turn full-time pro. When I was at St Albans, I was driving a van part-time, doing whatever I could just to get by, but I just wanted to be full-time basically. So it's getting to like the last minute, and the two clubs are haggling over a couple of £1,000. I'm like, well, whatever, dude, let's just get this done. I want to do it full time, and I want to be at a proper club, full-time club, and so yeah, I was just delighted to get it done in the end.
And of course, when you were brought in to play under manager Mark Stimpson as well. And what were those kind of conversations like with Mark as well? Because obviously, everyone knows what Mark's achieved at Stevenage, and even on the back of that as well, winning the FA Trophy even last season. So
Stimo was great actually. I just got a bit unlucky, I think. After about a month of me being there, we couldn't get promoted. And then the FA Trophy was number one priority, and I was cup-tied, basically. So he started playing Luke Oliver up front in some games in front of me, because he was an option for the club in the FA Trophy. So a bit unfortunate, really. But he was one of the best managers I played under. Made it fun for the players. I think he was fortunate to have a great group of lads there. Either that, or he built that team. So I think it all just gelled together really well. Good camaraderie, which he was, a part of, respected by the players. Let the boys play, and good atmosphere. It was a good setup at the time.
And of course, when you came in there as well, and you were brought in by Mark, you rekindled an old partnership with Steve Morrison as well. So what was that like to obviously play alongside Morrow once again?
Well, yeah, I played with him at Bishop Stortford, and obviously quality player. I think the unfortunate thing for me was that I didn't get didn't get enough of an opportunity really. So like I said, cup tie with the FA Trophy, and they were playing one up front, and I'm like 5'9" or whatever I am, so not exactly a big target man for a in a conference team.
And Luke Oliver was, what was he, about 6'7", wasn't he, something like that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and at that level, it seemed like a lot of managers, if they're playing one up front, it's not going to be a 5'9". You know, you've got to be at least 6 foot. So just a bit unfortunate, I think, with the timing, positioning, formations, being cup tied. Yeah, Morrow played most of the time up front on his own.
And of course, you know, there was plenty of quality in that side as well. When we've got to touch on, obviously, Mitchell Cole, who was a part of that side as well, of course, who sadly passed away back in 2012 and is now obviously no longer with us. And, you know, what a fantastic guy, and, you know, just a real, you know, top player, but actually just a really genuine nice guy as well.
Yeah, top man. Lovely guy, like you say. Had a great left foot, so much pace. Was a pleasure to be around in the dressing room. And yeah, just devastating really when you get the news like that, and be sorely missed.
And of course, there was Ronnie Henry there as well, who's gone on, and I think Ron your captain at the time, I believe as well. And of course, Ron has gone on and is now the club's all-time record holder as well. And you know, that's you know, he's still playing even at his age. He's playing for Royston now, whilst obviously coaching the academy as well. Yeah.
Oh, they must have a bit of money down there then.
But they've just signed Harry Draper on loan from us today as well. So one of the up-and-coming academy strikers. And obviously with Ronnie, well, you know, I just, you know, what you got to say about Ron? Obviously, Ron was another one that was a top draw player, and, you know, he could play multiple positions as well, couldn't he? Yeah.
Quality player, top man. A funny story about Ronnie, he was the captain. So I think we were training once at the ground when Peter Taylor was there. And he was going around collecting up some fine money, £1 here, £2 there, and then we had a bit of banter. Don't think he took it too well, and then we ended up squaring up. He kicked me, I punched him in the face, and 5 minutes later we were best friends again. So, really like Ron, top player and lovely guy.
And obviously, you know, to have Ron as your captain as well. What was he like, sort of in and around the dressing room, and obviously on the training pitch as well, to kind of get everyone motivated and, you know, his leadership qualities?
Yeah, to be honest, absolutely quality trainer, and that he just sort of led by example. Quality training, quality on the pitch, and yeah, I think my first session when I signed, and I was on fire in training. I think it was Ronnie and Santos were marking me, and I think I scored a hat trick. But he was trying to kick absolute lumps out of me. But they don't take no prisoners there. But that's what the training was like. It was real high quality, and he led from the front, you know.
And we've always, you know, since I've spoken to a lot of the former players, I've heard those sort of stories as well. That, you know, that group, well, actually a lot of the groups, but that group in particular, very much did train like they were playing a game.
Yeah, every session was sort of top quality. You had cover all over the pitch, so everybody was playing for their places, and you know, you got people like Santos, Ron, Barry Fuller, Mark Beard, you know, no prisoners in training, you know, and if you either sort of sink or swim there, and yeah, that the quality of the sessions, the intensity was really top notch.
And of course, you know, we kind of touched on it before, obviously with Mark as well, but you know, what were the main sort of factors in you wanting to come and sign for Stevenage? Of course, you know, you mentioned that you played there before in the playoffs for St Albans, and you know, you kind of had that knowledge of the fact that you knew the stadium, you knew, you know, a little bit about the club.
Yeah, for me it was I just wanted to get full time, and Stevenage was, I think, the most local to where I was living at the time. It was a perfect fit. And yeah, like you said, played there in the playoff final. I remember walking around the stadium. I remember being in the dressing rooms after, seeing the gym that was connected to the dressing room, and just thinking, yeah, I'll be up for some of this. I mean, the dressing rooms at St Albans aren't the best. I don't know if you've ever seen them.
No.
And yeah, just playing sort of non-league football sort of the last 3-4 years, and then being able to make the step up, not have to move home, travel 20 minutes, 30 minutes to training. And yeah, with a good manager and a great bunch of lads, it was just perfect. Yeah.
And I'm sure the fact that you were only at St Albans, you would have known quite a lot about Stevenage as a club as well. The fact that, you know, there's not an awful lot of distance between the two sides.
Yeah, exactly. So that just all worked well, and yeah, when I signed, it was great. The fans were great to me. Didn't play enough, but when I did, you know, it was always a pleasure. There was a couple of songs about me. It was great. I really enjoyed it. Just wish I could have played more, to be honest.
And of course, you made your debut for the club against Burton in a game that we won 2-1. And, you know, see if you can go back to that day, whether you remember much about that and in the build up to that game.
Not much about that one. Was that at home or away?
Yeah, it was at home, yeah.
Must have been sub, right?
No, you start. I'm sure. Did you start? Let's have a look.
I don't know. Didn't
No,
start.
sorry. Yeah, no. Sorry, you were brought on. Yeah, you were sub and come on. Yeah,
mate, a long time ago. I remember a game against York that I scored from like 3 yards out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've not too many memories. I remember watching a lot of games, and then yeah, just whenever I could get the chance, just doing my best. Really, I thought I did all right whenever I played, but never enough to get Morrow out the team. And yeah, it was going to be tough for me. Not like I said, not being cupped over the FA Trophy and just being tough. But whenever I played, I enjoyed it, and yeah.
And of course, you also played against Woking a couple of times, and Woking and those derbies. What were they like to be involved in? Of course, you know, Woking was the side you went on loan to as well.
Yeah, I seemed to hop around to all the different clubs where there was like local rivalries. Yeah, like you could sense a bit of atmosphere. It was always a bit tasty against Woking. You know, when the fans are really up for it. I think, to be honest, for us, we were up for every game, so it didn't matter that much, to be honest. It didn't matter if it was Woking, Burton, or York City. You know, I think when I came in, there was a good little bonus scheme going on. So great group of lads. So boys were just up for it every game, to be honest.
And then the next question or the next point was actually in regards to York as well, and obviously that's the one that you scored the winner in. And of course, you know, you mentioned that it was pretty much just a tap in, but all the goals count. So, you know, to win 1-0 as well, and to be the difference, I'm sure that was quite an important moment in your, you know, time at the club.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like I said, any chance that I got to play, I just relished in. And there's actually some highlights of that game on YouTube. I did well, played well, scored, could have scored another. Yeah, I think Guppy set me up from a corner, which is always fun. And yeah, just a shame couldn't get to play more. You used to, you know, any game where there was a good like number of fans. I used to love those games. Used to get up for those games more than the ones where there was like 300-400. Yeah, in front of 3,000-4,000 is great. Big stadium, big club. I'm up for those games. Yeah, and played well. Came in, and probably the next game dropped again. But that was the story of my life for that season, basically.
It's it's difficult when you got Steve Morrison and other strikers of that quality though as well. But what I will say is when you said it, when you come and you know play for the club, you always gave everything, and that was very much recognised and noticed by the fans as well. That you know you weren't one to shy away, so we did appreciate that.
Yeah, and like I said, I loved the fans. They were always good to me, and I really didn't do much there, but I think they knew that I was putting the effort in, wanted to be there, was happy to be there. And yeah, like you said, it just wasn't to be. I think early on that season, like we said, I think Nursey was there, Dobson. I was never going to play left wing, so it was Morrow and Luke. And then I think Jamie Slaver was there as well. And then next season, I think Clive Allen's son turned up, Ollie Allen. Got in front of me, and then just like, no, it wasn't really happening. And Peter Taylor didn't like me at all, so that was I had no chance with him.
Nah, that's yeah, all right. But then obviously we touched on that game against York, and the other game that you scored in was Morecambe at home as well, and that was just a mad game. You know, everything about that game, it was 3-3, and it was just one of those ones where it pretty much had everything really in that match.
Yeah, I think I remember it was crazy. I think it came on. I'm not even sure. Tuesday night game. Yeah, crazy game. And yeah, just happy to get on the score sheets when it's any time I get a chance. I was just delighted to be there, you know. But yeah, can't remember that game as well as I can remember the York game, but probably because the York games, there's some highlights basically.
Possibly, but then obviously with the game against Morecambe as well, being on the Tuesday night, what was that like to obviously play at the Lamex or Broadhall Way on a Tuesday night? And because the Tuesday nights under the lights can be very special, to be involved in.
It's funny when I look back at it now, I don't think I appreciate it as much as I should have done, but loved going out onto the pitch. Great surface, always good atmosphere. Yeah, just really enjoyed every minute. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I should have. I don't think I worked as hard as I probably could have done in training or what. I think I could have done more. But yeah, midweek under the lights was always special. The ball zips off the surface and just really love coming. I mean, I remember coming back for the Mitchell Cole sort of tribute match. Just love getting back on the pitch. A bit of zip to it. Good atmosphere. And yeah, good fun it was.
And that Mitchell Cole game, you didn't fancy going with Bezo and everybody and jumping on the drum, no?
No, all I wanted to do was score against Alan Julian, but it didn't happen. I think I had a couple of little chances, but I was a bit rusty.
But no, there was obviously in that game. It was very much. It was a lot of. I think Stimo was there. Bezo, I think Dino jumped in with the crowd. I think Wesley might have even got in with the crowd. I can't remember, to be honest, but yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of nuts. It was good, isn't it? You can see I think that's the difference at that level. There's much more of a connection with the supporters and the players. You go for a drink in the bar after, you can have a chat and a beer, and that was always a difference at that level. It can sometimes go against you if things aren't going well or the fans aren't on your side, but yeah, it was always pretty positive at Stevenage. So that's one of the benefits of playing at that level.
And of course, kind of touching on that briefly and a little bit as well, the club, I've always been a very sort of family-based club and community-based club as well. And even during the pandemic, the club have been very, very, very active in terms of, supporting the local area in terms of medication, prescription deliveries and, the food bank and everything like that as well. Even like the stadium being used as like a vaccine hub. It's great to have that as well, isn't it? And have that kind of close knit, sort of community sort of feel between the club and obviously the local area as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I signed, there was always that sort of feeling that was there, and it's great for the club to play a part in helping the community out. And yeah, the more they can do that, then the better it is for everyone, right? So yeah.
And of course, with the sandwich deliveries as well throughout the pandemic, I don't know what the total was in terms of how many sort of food parcels were delivered, but there was an awful lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea they were doing that. So well done to them. That's top stuff. Really good.
And of course, we'll move on now to the next part. We obviously touched on your relationship with the fans a bit as well, but do you still keep in touch with sort of any of the former players and sort of teammates that you had at Stevenage?
So Stevenage players, it's kind of we sort of tried and failed to get something going. Little reunion. I think mainly after the Mitchell Memorial game, and then it kind of just fizzled out. I think Adam Miller got in touch with me recently, say hello, and yeah, apart from that, it's kind of it just fizzles out like a lot of these kind of football relationships do. It's a shame, but you make so many friends over the years at all the different clubs, and yeah, if you can stay in touch with a handful, you've done well.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, I spoke to Millsy as well, and Millsy is another one who's a fantastic player. A big part of that trophy run, and when we got through to the final, and of course that day, were you involved? Or you obviously you weren't involved, but were you there watching that?
Yeah, I was on the bench, getting pretty drunk, to be honest. It was tough, man. It was tough. They wouldn't even allow us to get changed and warm up on the pitch or anything like that. I had a few friends and family in the crowd, which was good. And then when the boys did the business, just on the pitch and celebrating. And then I was always good at having a beer and joining in with the celebrations. And I think we flooded Wembley Stadium, the dressing room that day, so with champagne and beer.
Well, stadium. It's the first of that, club to win there as well, wasn't it? And you've got to enjoy those moments, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah, even I wasn't fortunate to be involved, but obviously part of a squad and part of the team, so got to get involved and enjoy those moments. And yeah, we really did enjoy that day and that night, and probably the night after as well.
Probably for the rest of that week.
Yeah.
But no, there's obviously we touched on the majority of what I was going to cover. But do you know much about how the club's been sort of progressing in sort of the more recent years? Have you been able to follow the club obviously on the rise up through the Football League?
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye, but not really. I mean, to be honest, my job is so heavily involved around football. And but the last few years, it's been kind of fallen out of love with it a little bit, because it's just intense every day. So yeah, I mean, I always keep a little eye out, but just my general, I guess, interest in football has reduced as the years have gone by, just because it's my day job basically. So
yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. And then, of course, with Stevenage, of course, they've gone on and they've achieved that league status now as well, and that's obviously great to have Stevenage as a league club, and it's very important to remain a league club as well, as we have done in the last sort of 10, 11 years now. We've managed to remain a league club, and we go again on Saturday for the start of a new season.
Yeah, so quite impressive to be a league club and to still be there, and hopefully it can be a comfortable period for you guys, looking towards the top end of the table as opposed to the bottom end of the table, right?
Absolutely. We've had our struggles in not last year, but the year before, as I'm sure you're very well aware of, with the club getting saved in the way that we did.
Yeah, so I think it's great for the club. Deserve to be a league club and should be a league club. And my mate's son is actually in the youth team there. Name's Frankie Craig. He's going to be a star for the future, young boy. So
keep an eye out for him. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so we'll see. Obviously, hopefully he'll come through and get given some minutes at some point in the next however many years. Yeah,
absolutely.
And of course, it's very much that we have to touch on that as well. You brought up the academy side and the youth side as well, and of course, there's plenty of quality that's come out of Stevenage, and then has either gone on up the leagues, the likes of Ben Wilmot, George Boyd. You could even look at Boro to a degree. Obviously, we signed him from non-league and then kind of progressed him to go on and play internationally. Yeah,
it's so important for a club like Stevenage to get some quality through the academy. And yeah, it's tough for them because there's a bit of a hard catchment area. There's a lot of big clubs around here, but if they can get a few gems, then it's so important for the club.
And of course, there's the likes of Jack Smith that's there now, and he played. I think he was one of the regulars throughout last season. He played quite a lot of minutes for somebody that's only I think he's only a teenager. I think it might even be like 18, 19. And there's some other guys there that are really coming through, and that's what I like about Alex Revell as well. He's not afraid to give these youngsters an opportunity. We've seen it in pre-season. We've seen Alfie Williams, we've seen Harry Draper, we've seen Mackay Townsend West, and the likes of Finley Johnson was on the bench last season. So he's not afraid to throw them in if he sees that they're good enough.
Yeah, well, he has to. I think as a manager of Stevenage, you've got to give the youth a chance, right? He's not going to go out and start spending a whole load of cash on players, right? So got to rely on some youngsters coming through.
That's right, and I'm sure that will happen throughout as well. That was kind of just continue on, and just really the last question. Obviously, you said that you're working at the moment with the guy from Brentford, and how do you see them doing in the Premier League? Like, obviously, this is their first time in the Premier League, isn't it, as well? And do you see them kind of being a surprise package at all?
I see them staying up. So I think that'll be a surprise to most people. But I think they'll make already made a couple of good signings, probably make a couple more, and play great football. And got an incredible new stadium. So they've got every chance, to be honest. I definitely don't think they're in the bottom 3 worst teams in the league. And I'm looking forward to going to see them play my team, Arsenal, on the opening day of the season.
That's going to be a good game as well. Of course, Arsenal, a club that I follow as well a little bit, as well as Stevenage. And of course, Arsenal have got their own struggles at the moment defensively, as was seen yesterday in that game against Chelsea.
Yeah, we've had struggles not just at the moment, mate. It's been about 10, 15 years, hasn't it?
Yeah, so, that's right, yeah.
Lucky enough to watch us have a few glory days in the early 2000s, late 90s. But yeah, we've got a long way to go to be a Champions League team again. So we'll see what happens this year. Good signing with Ben White, a bit expensive, but he's a decent centre half and someone that we needed. Slightly better than David Luiz, I reckon.
Yeah, that's right, and he's got a lot more pace as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he's a really quality player, so I like him. So he might shore up the defence a little bit. We've got some problems going forward as well, but who knows? We might sign 1 or 2 more.
And with that as well, we touched on Steve's academy, but Arsenal's academy is really good as well. And actually, over the years, they've loaned out a few players too. Stevenage, like Luke Freeman was one of the main ones who. And then he signed for the club as well. But now the likes of Bukayo Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe, talented, like very, very talented players, aren't they? And, Saka's going to go on and he's going to be a top draw player for club and country, as we've seen already. But Smith-Rowe isn't far behind. Yeah,
2 quality players. I think the Arsenal U team have they've kind of nailed it a little bit. So I think they'll see 1 or 2 more coming through over the next couple of years for sure.
I'm sure we will. And of course, we'll just touch on, just finally, obviously you said you were involved working at the moment, but are you still involved in the game at all, or you kind of just stepped completely away from football now?
So I played a few vets games, but my legs are shot, basically. My calves can't last more than 20 minutes. So I either can stroll around on the pitch at like walking pace, or just give it up. Taken up Thai boxing more recently, and that's actually been better for my legs than football ever was. So I'm going to try and heal my body and not harm it. Football, 20, 30 years of football is really not good for the legs, mate.
And when you get in injuries and that as well, I'm sure those injuries are, injuries that take a while to recover from, if you even recover from them completely at all.
Yeah, well, look, when I was 16, I think I played about 160 games in a year, playing for 4 or 5 different teams, county teams, and college teams, whatever it was. And at the end of the year, I think that's my first ankle ligament injury. And like I think what's different now is the understanding of the physical side of things, the health side of things, and they're much more in tune now with what a player's body needs in terms of rest, recovery, and everything else. I think for so many years we were not in tune at all. And I've been suffering for it. So trying to heal those wounds. I do miss the game, but mate, I'm nearly 40 years old. So you keep thinking you're 30 years old, but you're not. So give it up, move on.
That's fair enough. But go on, mate. Carry on.
No, and then maybe my son will be there one day. He's nearly 2, and I'll have to live vicariously through him.
And I'm sure that's something that I'm sure you're probably just hopefully be able to help him sort of progress and develop as well, and kind of offer that wisdom throughout.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm not going to force anything or push him, but if he's interested, wants to do it. Problem is, his mum's a Spurs fan, so we've got a bit of trouble here.
I was going to say, you have to make sure he supports the right teams.
Yeah, so who knows? I'm going to just be cool with it, and then I'll give him the option. I'll take him to a game, and then he can decide what he wants to do.
Just don't take him when they play Spurs.
No, I think it's better off just like no Arsenal and no Spurs, and just pick your local club and just enjoy that. It's much more fun. These Arsenal, Spurs, they're just businesses now, aren't they? It's not really a club for the fans anymore. So I'll be encouraging to watch some lower level stuff probably.
And that's always good as well, to get people started up supporting lower league teams early on, because we touched on it earlier with Stevenage, and we'll use this to wrap it up as well. And that's where you can see that there is that kind of connection between the club and the fans, and that really does sort of encourage people to maybe even get involved later on in the sort of clubs, academies, and things like that, or the local areas academies that can kind of progress through into the club. And then that's actually it's a good way into the game. Whereas if they're at a higher end, sort of Premier League academy, then obviously they've got the sort of the option, obviously, of not even the option really, I should say, but the what's the word? The fact that it might not work out, basically.
Yeah, so it's tough, isn't it, for the kids, because they get sucked in TV, Premier League, everyone around them supporting the bigger teams. So to try and encourage them to go another way is tricky. But yeah, there's in terms of playing, you're going to get you're way more likely to come up through a team slightly in a slightly lower division. And you can learn a lot coming up from that level as well.
That's right. So we'll leave it there, Paul. But thanks a lot for taking some time out this afternoon and into the early evening now as well. But yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. This has been the SFC interviews, and this has been with Paul Hakim. So thank you for listening, and we'll be back when I can organise another one. Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.